There we go. We're live.
All right, sounds good, man.
So, how long have you been judging combat sports? Like what?
so, so probably about the last 11, maybe 12 years, I've been judging here
Okay.
in Utah, and then also judge in Wyoming and Idaho a little bit as well. So
Okay.
I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, that's more than half. More than half my life.
Yeah, so I've been judging for a long time, and then I've been a fan since a pretty casual fan starting in like 98, 99. And then I moved here to Utah in 2000, and not too long after that, really started getting into it pretty deep.
Okay. And then how did you how do you even go into something like how do you bring yourself to be like, okay, I'm gonna be a judge? Where do you go? Where are the first steps to starting that?
Okay. So oh, '07, I had my first pro MMA fight, and that was on Jeremy Horn's very first show here in Utah. And not too long after that, I had a lot of medical problems. I have Crohn's disease, and that really kind of not help me, stop me from really training hard and really pursuing anything with fighting anymore. And back then, it was still kind of the wild, wild west. You didn't need anything to judge. You just had to be a warm body and willing to sit there and judge fights. So back then, Dave Foley, I don't know if you know who that is. He owns Foley's MMA here in Ogden. He asked me if I wanted to judge one night, and because he knew that I enjoyed the sport, liked it, followed it, fought, trained, all that. So that's what started me judging. And after that, things started to get a little bit more professional, where you had to get your ABC certifications. Uh, Now, if someone wanted to jump on, you'd have to get your ABC certifications, you have to get shadowing, and you'd have to do that for probably a while here. We have different tiers of judges here in Utah. So you'd be on that lowest tier where you're just coming and you are volunteering your time to basically come score fights. That those scores don't mean anything except to show that you are competent and consistent, and you know what you're doing. So it's a lot harder road now than it was then, I think. Um, so it just really depends. You have to be really committed today, I think, to be able to get up to that and start doing it consistently.
Just kind of have to have a love for the sport in a way then and follow
Yeah, I
through.
mean, yeah, like when I first started, we didn't get paid anything. I would give up my Friday or Saturday night, and I would head down to Salt Lake, Vernal, St. George, uh, Orem, all sorts of places for literally $0. Um, it would be negative. I'd end up paying for my own gas. They want us to dress a little bit nicer, so if I didn't have anything to wear, I'd have to buy something nice. Wear and tear on my own vehicle, maybe dinner for myself after. And I mean, at the end of the day, it cost me 50, $75 to just go judge fights. So, um, but now that's changed a little bit. I mean, I definitely not doing this for the money. It's a love for the sport, to be part of the sport, and just to help fighters get their hand raised if they deserve it.
That's that's awesome. That's it just shows that there's a lot of love for the sport and shows the commitment that people go through just to show their love for the sport and show try to get advancement in it. So that's cool. So
Yeah, definitely.
how do you go about judging? Because I know with different judges they go off of different type of rating systems, I guess. So how do you
So
personally judge?
I think that's one of the kind of the misnomers with judging is that they think that judges kind of do it their own way, where we are all taught to follow um, the unified rules of judging. I mean, we're going off effective striking, grappling, then we're going to effective aggressiveness, and then what they call fighting area control, which would be like cage control or octagon control. Um, and we're going off those things. And if you do read the unified rules, it talks about immediate effective striking or grappling is going to be more heavily weighed than like kind of someone who's doing small shots um, that are causing some damage, but we're supposed to give heavier weight to something that is a more immediate type of effective striking, like damage. I mean, just saying damage instead of effective. But that's what
Okay.
we're supposed to be looking at. And I think all of us judges here in Utah, um, we're all on the same page. We all understand what we're looking at. We all have judged hundreds and thousands of fights now at this point in our lives. Um, so it just, I do think that is one of the things that people don't understand is that we're all taught the same thing. There could be some variance, and if we see something that the other didn't. If a ref was in front of us and I didn't see a punch land, I can't assume it landed unless I do see physical damage, a black eye, bloody mouth, bloody nose, or something like that. I can't really assume it hit if I don't see a knockdown with it, or maybe say there's a submission across the cage and I'm not really seeing much of it. I can't judge on what I can't see. So those are going to be the kind of things that are variables. Um, but we are all supposed to hit those three things where we're doing the effective striking and grappling, and then effective aggressiveness, and then the fighting area control. And we're not even supposed to look at effective aggressiveness or the fighting area control unless the effective striking and grappling is completely even. And that rarely happens. So moving down into those two things um, aren't really something that we're looking at. And then when people, fighters, the MMA media, fans start talking about, well, hey, what about their effective aggressiveness or their octagon control? Those aren't things we're looking at unless that first criteria is dead even.
Okay. So it's just kind of one of those things that you only venture into if it's like it's an even playing field, like the damage is even.
Yeah, and I mean, for sure. And I know you've seen a good amount of fights as well. And I mean, when's the last time you've ever seen a fight that was strike for strike, completely even? You can always, almost always, I don't want to say always, you can almost always go, hey, that guy barely got it, or that girl barely got it.
Yeah.
So moving down in those second and third tiers, it doesn't happen very much. But when it does, it makes it tough. That's why uh, we're there. I mean, I would say, I don't know, maybe 80% of rounds are usually pretty clear cut. Uh,
Kind of froze up there. You back? There you are.
yeah,
Kind of
was
froze up.
that me or was that you?
I don't know. One of us
Okay.
froze up. But
Okay.
yeah,
But yeah,
it's that's cool. There's a whole side to combat sports and the entertainment side of it, that like setting it up and like going through all the hoops that might be there, and like there's a lot that goes into it that a lot of people don't understand. Like you get these people that have never seen an MMA fight or boxing match, and they just show up and they want to have a couple of beers with their friends or watch some dudes throw hands in a cage, or chicks, whatever.
yeah,
And then but there's a whole side to it that a lot of people don't understand, and I feel like judging is definitely one of those, because like
definitely.
the only time that people even pay attention to the judge is if it's like a split decision and the person that they were rooting for lost, and they're like, oh, judges suck. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. I mean, with some of these recent fights here lately, it's really gone to show that even champions, big head coaches of big teams, they don't understand the judging criteria. And uh, it really goes to show that uh, people need to learn the rules and that they need to learn um, defense doesn't score you points. It keeps you in the fight. It lets you keep fighting. You shouldn't be awarded for surviving. And people want to get awarded for takedowns that don't end up doing anything where the other person gets up or they take somebody down and that person they took down is now elbowing that person that took them down. And it's not about the position, it's what you do with the position. And like I said, that last uh, that these last couple fights have actually shown that a lot of people don't know what they're talking about, and it's put the judges in the hot seat. And I think it's also I've seen a few fighters and MMA media come out and say, hey, you know what, we do need to take a look at the rules and look at the stuff and make sure we know what we're watching. And it's kind of crazy that people don't know the rules to the sport that they're in.
I was kind of talking to who was I was talking to one of the team coaches about how there's a lot of or no, I was actually talking to the ref that was at or yeah, the ref that was at these last fights at Mountain View High School.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't no, it
Was it
wasn't the
Dave
ref.
Sell, you said?
It
Was it another
wasn't
judge?
no. It was
Oh, okay.
someone else on the commission. I was talking to him about it, and
Okay.
it's like that. I'm sure you've seen that clip of that UFC fighter. I can't remember his name, but he hit his inhaler in between rounds, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a huge deal, and a lot of people were upset about it. And it's like, it's not really one of those things that people like. It's common sense, but at the same time, it's like a far out type of common sense. It's like
Yeah.
someone gave him the okay, and it's like, well, if it's against the rules, why'd someone tell him that it was all right to do that? And it's like he doesn't know the rules to his own sport. That's his profession, and that's his income at that point if he's in the UFC.
The fighter not knowing what he or his coaches
Yeah,
should know that that's illegal or not legal to do uh, during a fight for sure.
and like you were saying, like a takedown that doesn't do anything, and they want points for it. It's like, okay, well, you take someone down, but it doesn't because don't you technically judge off of something that will advance the fight to finish? So if it's a
Yeah,
takedown that
that's what
doesn't
we're
do
looking at.
anything, that's not a advance to the finish of the fight.
Yeah, and that if it's just strictly, I mean, if the guy's doing these big amplitude slams, dumping a guy on their head and really smashing on them, that's going to be some really effective grappling, and that's causing damage and hurting him. But if it's just these up on the cage, pull you down, the guy gets back up, pulls you down, guy gets back up, and you don't land any strikes with it, you don't have any submission attempts. It's really not doing much. Uh, that that striking and those submission attempts are going to be the things that are going to get you further ahead to win those fights.
Yeah, it's like one thing that I've noticed too is like people that don't understand the sport and don't comprehend it, like the viewers of it, I guess, that don't have a full grasp of it or even a slight grasp. They watch these fights. They're like, oh, that person totally should have won. Like they did this, and this, but they're completely leaving out the fact that they did more damage or they did more effective striking and effective grappling,
Mm-hmm.
and like it just completely gets thrown out of the window. And the only thing that they really look at is like effective striking, and that's what people try to
Yeah.
judge every fight off of only effective striking and takedowns, and but there's a lot more that
Yeah,
goes into it
and
from what I've heard
and
from
a
you.
lot of people that are watching are rooting for their favorite fighter.
Yeah,
Where I don't care who wins. It doesn't. The only thing that makes a difference to me and who I want to win is who should win, and that's going to be the person who output the most uh, things towards that scoring criteria. So that's one of the things too that's hard for people to watch because whenever there's a close fight, half the room is going to think I got it right, half the room is going to think I got it wrong,
yeah,
and most of those people are there to watch a person. They're not there to judge and give 5 minutes of their 100% of attention. I'm not drinking a beer. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not walking away to take a bathroom break. I'm not eating my hamburger or whatever it is. I'm sitting there, probably not even blinking for 5 minutes while I watch this fight go down.
yeah. I honestly don't think you do. I
Yeah.
like. I don't know how, because from what I've seen, I think it's been like the same three judges for the Fierce Championship, and I watch you guys judge, and you guys are just like glued to the what's happening, and it just blows my mind that there's that much focus and that
Yeah. I
much
mean, we're definitely paying
attention.
attention. Yeah. And also, too, people don't see that I've been watching. I mean, I've been judging for over a decade. I've trained, I've competed, I've fought, and I've never been at a high level in any of actual physical competition, but I've done it. I know what it feels like to get punched in the face. I know what it feels like to get kicked in the head. Um, I understand positions. I understand submissions. I understand when uh, someone's trying to set something up or uh, when someone is getting damaged. I've been it enough to at least know what that guy's trying to do or what he's feeling or what it feels like when something's getting done to you to really be able to judge that. So people also don't see that when these other judges have done the same thing, trained and put in hours and uh, gone to multiple trainings. I've I don't know how many trainings I've gone to, but I've gone to trainings in Florida, Las Vegas, here in Utah, Wyoming. So I have a lot of hours in the classroom as well to add to my time on a mat or in a ring to help me with both those aspects of it coming together.
Yeah, so that's cool because do you see like very much new blood coming in to get into judging, or like is there a big community that's unseen, or is it just
No,
kind of
there isn't. There's just a handful of us that are here. There's maybe, I think I can think of maybe 5 or 6 judges, MMA judges here in Utah that are in rotation to go and judge. So uh, there's been a couple people here and there that have wanted to shadow, and they might come for a couple shows. And I don't know if it's not moving fast enough for them. They want to be in the hot seat and they get out, or they just realize it's not for them. I've seen a lot of fighters who retire from fighting and so, hey, I want to judge, but they don't want to put aside their gym relations or where they go train. I myself only train at a straight jiu-jitsu gym. Uh, I haven't been in a while because of all the pandemic stuff.
yeah?
But when I do go to the gym, I go to Westside Jiu Jitsu here in Ogden and get a good look there. But they're not turning out fighters, so I really have never ran into anybody that's going and fighting. So I don't have any conflicts of interest usually. I think I've taken myself off of one fight ever uh, because of what could even be perceived as a conflict of interest. I just didn't
Okay.
want anyone to even think that was something that could possibly sway how I judge. So I think I've only taken myself off of one fight.
I've never even thought of that. That's wow. It just shows like because you forget that's a thing. Like that's
Yeah, and I mean we're all human, and us as judges, we're not perfect. We never get anything right. I mean, we don't always get everything right. Sorry, but I mean it's imperfect humans judging imperfect humans, and we're all just doing the best we can, and really trying to keep everything uh, very seen and have nothing we're hiding. We all want to make sure that that we're doing the absolute best that we can. And even in sports where there's clear, concise rules, there's always still something that happens uh, that may be in a gray area, or people don't 100% agree on. So in a sport where there isn't a like, oh hey, you get every left hand you land is a point, every kick you land is 2 points. We don't have that. We have three people around a cage or a ring putting those scores together and putting them out. And we don't have instant replay. We don't have a flag we can throw to go check out video. We're watching for 5 minutes, and we have just a little bit of time to write those scores down on those scorecards, and get them back to the scorekeepers. So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of strict attention to watching the fight, and trusting in your training and your knowledge of the sport to write that score down and turn in something that you can back up and speak to. So that's another thing as well. We, as judges, after fights at the end of the night, sometimes it's just the judges. Sometimes the commission will come. Scott Bowler will come and talk to us, and we'll go over anything that was close, anything that was a split decision, or maybe even rounds that were off. I mean, there's been plenty of times where after a fight's done, you'll see me, you'll see Dan, you'll see Steve. We'll get up, we'll go to the other guys and be like, hey, I know it ended in second round, but man, that first round was tough. How did you have it? I want to know. So if we can speak notes, or like, hey, I saw it this way though, and we can all talk about it, and always be filling in those gaps that we have, um, and even biases and things like that, because I know I have evolved greatly as a judge from when I first started, and I know there's been fights in the past where it's like, hey, I 100% got that wrong, knowing what I know now. Um, and I know the other judges have had those things happen as well. So we're always evolving, we're always getting better, and I think a lot of people tend to forget that the sport is still really new. Uh, it's going on what, a little over 30 years now as like a real legitimate sport, where it's been in this more of what we see in modern day mixed martial arts.
it's not just the bare knuckle barbarians going at it for
Yeah,
five
with no
minutes
time
straight.
limits and no rules and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people tend to forget that we're still evolving as a sport, and we're still evolving as officials and everything else. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. That we're all trying to progress the sport as much as we can, and that is a big thing that we care about. That we love the sport, and we want to see it do well and see it be judged fairly.
Okay. So like doing it for 10 years or over a decade,
Yeah. Hmm.
that's a good chunk of time that with to have experience in anything. So how
Yeah,
has
for sure.
that directly affected your life and changed your outlook on life?
Um, I'm into a lot of things. I'm into like, I mean, I've had my career. my hobbies that I'm into, things like that. And I would say like the only thing that I would say like I'm a for real 100% expert on would be MMA judging. I mean, I'm I feel I'm good at like my day-to-day job. Uh, I went to college, I did things like that, but at those things I feel I can probably still learn a great deal at. I feel like my MMA judging is just more fine tuning now. I'm not learning big chunks of information. I'm really just honing it in and really making it more precise. Um, it's given me a lot of friendships, whether it was my early days of training at Jeremy Horn's gym, uh, or uh, going down to Foley's MMA here in Ogden, Mark at Westside Jiu Jitsu. I've really had friends that I've would call great friends for, I don't know, probably the past 15 or so years that I've all met through MMA. Um, it's uh, it's really just brought a lot of people into my life is probably the biggest thing. A sense of camaraderie. Um, uh, I would say like a little bit of respect in the arena. I would say a lot of fighters know me, um, and I would hope that a lot of them are happy to see myself around the cage, saying like, okay, hey, Dutch is there. I if it does go to a decision, I can't finish tonight. I feel confident that Dutch can get it right, and if I win a fight that I should have won, I think Dutch will get it right and make sure that happens. In that aspect, I feel fighters respect me in that way. They know that I've put in time, I care, and I've been around the sport a long time to make sure that happens. So in those ways, it's changed my life. It's probably made my wallet a little bit lighter of having to do all this stuff out of my own pocket. But man,
we
I
all
wouldn't
have
change it for the world.
we all have hobbies that do that at some point.
I mean, that's all I have is hobbies that take money from my pockets.
And kids don't help that either, man.
No, not at
I
all.
could only imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like that's one thing that I absolutely love about setting up the cage and just being at the fights is you meet all these coaches and fighters and you get to talking with them and they express their love for the sport and they express their like
Hmm.
just basically who they are as a person is surrounded by mixed martial arts or jujitsu, whatever it may be. And you
Hmm.
just meet so many cool people that are down to earth people. And then you still get those people that are like, you're a piece of shit, dude. You'll have that anywhere, but it's cool seeing the good. There's a lot of good in MMA, and that's what a lot of people are definitely not seeing. A lot of people just have such a bad opinion about it just because
Yeah, we're
they
all
think
supposed to be brutes. We all just love violence and all that. I think a lot of people forget the it's a solo sport, but you do have a whole team behind you, and you do have all this camaraderie and teamwork and all that stuff. And a lot of people who haven't trained or been in a gym at least, they kind of tend to forget that it's a whole team that's just sending one of their representatives out that night to fight for their team. Um, so there is weeks and months and years that go into getting ready for that fight. So I've met some of the best people I know from this sport. Um, People that I used to train with. Hell, even the guy I fought however many years ago. Uh, I see his wife in a store. I've seen his wife in a store one time. She was like, "Hey Dutch, how's it going?" We talked. I'm still friends with him, and it's a great place to be. I would say most of the fights, most people shake each other's hands at the end of the night, go back, talk, have a beer, see each other out wherever, and they're friends. Nobody's taking this outside of the cage and holding a grudge or anything like that. So it is a great sport. There's a lot of great people in it, and there's so many people that care about keeping this sport and helping the sport evolve.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really like too, is because my brothers, both of them, fought the Prado brothers at the same
Okay.
time, same arena,
Yeah.
and after the fights, like they just became friends. Like it was just
Yeah.
like an immediate, like mutual love and respect for each other. Like the Prado brothers, I'm friends with on Facebook. Like my mom's friends with them on Facebook. My brothers are like, it's just an insane, just mutual respect for them, and
For sure.
it's just it really helps uh, the community grow as well, because you bring so many people together and you bring a lot of passion into it, and
Yep.
you get a lot of good results from it. And I really
Yeah.
like to see it, and just seeing that there's a lot of people that are actually passionate about it and they want to be
Hmm.
there and they want to be judging or refing and being on the commission. Like it's just such a cool thing to me, because you see a lot of people and they're just miserable all the time with what they're doing and they're never happy, and you're like, this dude's really gonna be refing my wrestling match? Like this isn't
Yep.
gonna be a good time, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's just it's kind of a feel good to know that there's people out there that are this passionate about the sport, and there's a lot of people that rely on you and the ref for good results. And so it's just cool to see people that are genuinely passionate about it.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at all of us judges, the refs, whenever we all get there, man, we go. I mean, we either shake hands or we're hugging. We're all happy to be there. We're excited to see each other. We're excited to work together that night. Um, we love it. Like I said, none of us are doing it for any money. If I was doing it for money, I would have quit a long time ago. Um, no, none of us are there to be famous or see have people see us. Um, the only people that know me are like the super hardcore people that are there all the time, or they're fighters or they're coaches, and we do it just because we legitimately love being there and um, love the sport and want good people in those seats or in that cage to make sure fighters are safe, fighters are getting their hand raised if they're supposed to get their hand raised.
That's one thing too that I love, is like that, like with Cody Bunderson and his promotion, like he wants good people around, and he
Hmm.
he's doing a lot more for the fighters than a lot of promotions do. A lot of these
I
amateur
don't know if you
promotion
can. You're breaking up a little bit.
oh, let's see, so I can fix it. How's that? Is that better? Or still breaking up?
I don't know if yours is frozen on your end. Yeah, that's better.
All right.
I heard the cool thing about Cody Bunderson is.
So with his promotion, it's just there's a lot of good people that are involved in it, and that I love being around and working with to have good fights. And there's always he does
Hmm.
so much for the fighters. Like they like there's fighters getting paid, and there's fighters, like if you look at other promotions and these fighters will fight and they don't even get paid for it. They're just kind of fighting to fight, but they get paid with this promotion and they do this with this promotion. Like it's like almost like a next step for them. Like
Hmm.
one thing that I've noticed with these last fights at the Mountain View High School is like the next big thing for a lot of fighters in Utah is to get to the Maverick Center. Like that's what they want to do, is they want
Yeah.
to get to the Maverick
Yep.
Center and they want to fight for Cody's promotion. And that it just blew my
Hmm.
mind, because like I was there for the start of it and I've been through on and off throughout the years, the last few years, and it's crazy from what we came from and where we are now. It's just insane. And then seeing all the support and love of how much people actually love the sport, and they're not just kind of
Hmm.
there for growth of or getting growth from other people. they're doing it for self growth and the love of the sport,
Yeah.
and it's just cool seeing all these different people go into like fighting, and it's just their life. Like they wake up and they breathe it, they go to bed and they breathe it, they dream about it. Like this is what they
Hmm.
want to do, and it's crazy to
Definitely.
see that because there's a whole community that no one even thinks about.
Yeah. And like I said, that's why we care so much because I do know that there's those guys that live, breathe, eat, train, and fight. That's all they care about. So um, we do the same. I mean, we're talking to each other, asking each other about fights. If we saw this fight on this card, or the amount of MMA we watch to make sure we get better and all that kind of stuff. And it's great. And you going back to what these promotions are doing for fighters, even besides paying them, another good thing that I see is and this used to be way more prevalent back in the day where you'd see fights mismatched. Today, with like Steel Fist, Fierce, they both do such great work at matchmaking. Rarely do I see now um, fights that are super lopsided, and that goes to show that those promoters care about their promotion, the fighters that they have on their cards, and to make sure guys are getting lined up with competition that's equal to their skill. And every once in a while, you're going to get something where two guys are 0-0, and you're talking to their coaches and kind of trying to feel it out, and it might be lopsided. But for most part now, man, a lot of fights are very evenly matched, and it makes for a great night. Even if two guys that don't have a lot of time in the sport, they're still very evenly matched, so it makes it a really good fight still. And those are things that I really appreciate with the matchmakers that we have here in Utah and the promotions that we have here in Utah. And those promotions that didn't care about that kind of stuff have really weeded themselves out, and the people that care have been around, and they're growing and they're doing better. So that's really good to see as well.
How so? How is Utah compared to other states that you've judged in? How does Utah line up like promotion wise and that type of thing? Is it like
Uh,
top tier compared to other states, or is it pretty even
so I
across the
think
board?
I think it's per capita. We're the number three with the amount of shows in the United States. I believe it's Las Vegas, California, and then Utah. I'd have to double check that. I remember I saw that stat years ago, and I would assume it's the same with how many shows we have here in the state. Uh, our commission is second to none. We do have a great commission. We do have. Uh, I feel that with the UFC that they've come here in the past, Bellator's come here, LFA, all these other promotions. I think that goes to show that we are doing a great job here. I know Idaho and Wyoming have looked to Utah for information. They've brought us a few Utah judges out to their shows to judge. They believe that we're competent, and I believe that they believe we are that way because they've spoke to the Utah Commission, and they're respected, so they respect what they said. We've gone down to judge, and I know speaking to Wyoming's commissioner Scott Meeker, he's uh, really trying to get Wyoming's commission up there and bigger, and getting more short shows out to that state. So on a professional level, man, I would say we're pretty darn good, man. Uh, we get a lot of shows here, so we get a lot of time cage side. We get a lot of time inside the cage. We get to see hundreds of fights a year, so it really does help. It does help to keep our skills sharp.
Froze up again. All right. I hear your sound. There we go.
Okay, there we
There
are.
we go. Last thing
But
I
yeah,
heard
we get a
was
lot of time. I do think we're up there.
yeah, that's cool. I
Go
I
ahead.
was always curious about like where Utah lines up with that and where Utah sits, because I know there's a lot of top tier fighters in Utah for their level, and it's like
For sure.
I'll be
We do have a lot
surprised.
of fights here, and
I'll be surprised if I don't see a lot of these guys making it to the next level of a fighting career, or because like just watching these amateur fights that were just held at Mountain View, that was like the best amateur card I have ever seen with any
oh man,
promotion. It was amazing, amazing
it
fights,
was really
amazing
good.
fighters.
Yep.
And then
Yeah,
if
I
with everything that you've seen in over your decade of experience, what is probably like the craziest thing that you have seen?
craziest thing. I mean, I've seen broken legs, broken arms. I've seen full on fist fights um, after their fighter gets knocked out, and then there's chairs flying. Um, I mean, I guess those are some of the craziest things I've seen. I mean, hearing a guy's leg break from like 3 feet away,
Oh, dude, that
his
must
shin
be.
just breaks and he steps back and he just falls down because he broke his leg. I mean, that's crazy. Or seeing someone, I don't know, man. I've been a part of the sport forever. I've seen countless guys get knocked unconscious, like stiff armed and just
Just complete.
convulsing. It doesn't
Oh,
get any easier to see. I I'm not numb to it. It's still crazy. I mean, I catch myself every once in a while like, man, these guys are insane. I don't know how they get into this cage and go fight each other. It's the craziest thing you can see. I played football and baseball in high school, and I've been like nervous to go do that stuff. And it doesn't compare to what it feels like to be in your underwear and step in a cage and fight another grown man in front of a bunch of people. It's just, it's weird. I mean, that's probably the craziest thing is that people get up in their underwear and fight each other in front of a bunch of drunk people.
yeah, that's I because I know how nervous I used to get like before like a wrestling match, and like
Hmm.
just this hole that is in the bottom of my stomach, like,
Yeah.
and it was just a horrible feeling. So I could only imagine like what's going through someone's head when they're getting Vaseline rubbed on their face on their way into being locked into a chain link cage with
Yep.
another grown man that you might not know anything about, his fighting style,
Yep.
how strong he is,
He's been training
anything.
to beat your face in as
And
well.
hopefully you've been doing the same, or you're going to get your
Yeah,
face beat
exactly.
in. It's just such a
Exactly.
crazy thing that I don't think I can wrap my head around unless I were to actually cage fight.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I never did anything at a high level, but man, grappling tournaments, you're sitting there, you're waiting, you're watching guys that you're going to be going up against, competing, and you're just like, holy crap, I'm about to go out there, or I'm about to jump in this cage and fight this guy and have him kick me and punch me in the face. It's it's wild, man. It's the best worst sport ever. Like the ups are so big and the lows are just absolutely devastating.
Like I've seen a lot of fighters fight multiple times, and like the first fight that I'll see them, they'll either like let's say they do really good, like
Hmm.
amazing, and then the next time they step into the ring, they just get folded, and it is like,
Yeah.
oh no, and then the next time that they step in, they just get knocked out again. It's like, oh, this is horrible, because
Hmm.
you know, like it's like getting hit with a baseball. Since you played baseball, it's like you get pegged in the leg by like the fastest pitcher on the other team, and you just remember that pain, and then going out to bat again or get in the cage again, knowing that you
Hmm.
could possibly feel that same pain. That is like such a gut wrenching feeling.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. That's just insane to me, man.
Yeah,
'Cause,
like I said, I catch myself every once in a while. Um, I think it was at that last Fierce show. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, first fighter of the night. His music kicks on, and I see him come out, and I'm just like, man, these guys are crazy. Just coming out, wanting to do this, sign up for it. You're an amateur fighter, you can't get paid. You're just coming out. You're doing it for the love of the sport, and because you think you can beat this other guy up. It's just crazy to even to like really break it down and think about it in just those small little things. It's just a wild sport to do, man.
you have to truly love something to go possibly get your ass beat for hardly anything, and
Yeah,
biggest thing that you're getting in return is a sore face or
and
possibly broken
people
bones.
cheering
And
you on. That's like the most. That's the biggest thing. You're hoping your hand gets raised at the night, and you have a couple thousand people, maybe if you're lucky, screaming your name or cheering you on when you get your hand raised. Like that's what they're doing it for in the end. Like it's just crazy. They're willing to go through everything else just to feel that satisfaction that you did it, that you know, all your training and all your hard hours in the gym paid off for you. It's a wild sport, man. Especially hardly anybody makes any money doing this. Um, very rarely does anyone make any good money that they can, you know, have a 10-year career and get out and never work a day in their life. Most guys do this for however many years, make a couple tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even a couple hundred thousands of dollars, but that's spread out over 10 years. It's
that's
nothing.
less than 10,000 a year.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If you're lucky. So, um, it's just this quick sport, and uh, a lot of people do it for love. I mean, that's with any sport, that's with anything really. A lot of people play soccer, a lot of people play baseball, football. Hardly any of them make it to that 1% that does anything with it. So, this just has more serious consequences in the end. Um, you're getting brain damage and broken legs and cauliflower ear, broken noses, things like that. So it's just more consequences with this sport.
Yeah, it's one thing that's crazy too is a lot of these guys spend 10 years and then they get into the UFC at 30, and then they have at most probably 8 or 9 years of fighting left in them before it's like their
Yep.
body cannot do anymore.
Yeah.
They're burnt out. They can't
Hmm.
muscle through like they used to before, and
Yep.
it's really crazy because the complete devotion goes into it from that time that, let's say, they've been training since they were like 10, and then
Hmm.
they spend their whole life going after it to have 8 or 9 years where they make really good money and then it's done.
You're breaking up again.
What's the last? Am I still breaking up? We good?
Yeah, we're good now. I
Oh,
was able to hear what you were saying through the breakups, but
it's just insane to me that, like, a lot of guys, like, that's the reality of it. They have 15 years of working up to a certain level, and then it's 8 or 9 of
of
your,
hoping to stay at the top,
yeah, pretty
to even
much.
stay in it. Because I mean, you can go on a couple fight skid and you're out of it. You're done. You lost your dream, and in a year, you know, if you had a couple fights, you lost it, you're gone. It's really hard. It's like I said, the highest highs and the lowest lows. It's a wild sport, man.
It's crazy. That's one thing that I want to see too in the future is just some type of steady career with it. I don't like, I want to see like the type of careers that jujitsu has. Like, these dudes will do it their whole life and go tournaments their whole life and make money off of jujitsu. Like, they're able to make somewhat of a career out of it. And that's one thing that I want to see with MMA, and you don't have to be this multi-million dollar big shot, and you can still make a career out of it. But that's
Yeah,
kind of out there, but I think it'd
it's
be
tough.
cool.
And like you said, it's the sports entertainment industry in the end. Um, you got to be entertaining. You have to be a personality. to really move on up. And it's sad to say, I mean, I would rather just see the best fighters face the best fighters at that top level, but that's not what it comes down to in the end. There's shareholders now. There's people. It's a big industry now, so it's more than just getting those best guys in there to fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I see a lot of advancement in mixed martial arts and a lot of love for it. But I really
Hmm.
appreciate you coming on today, man.
Hey, man,
That's
anytime.
awesome. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad I got to learn a little bit more about judging and your outlook on combat sports. And I really appreciate it, man.
Anytime. Hey, I appreciate you asking me and to be the first person that's on your podcast. So hopefully we see more episodes and I'll be watching and good luck, man. Like I said, I appreciate you asking me to come on. It was an honor.
I really appreciate it, man. You have a good night.
You too, brother. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.